Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and this is the beginning part of What If Asta Had Cross Sans' powers. Now we begin with Cross Sans coming into my hero world since he can hop dimensions. He's just sick and done with everything, and decides to just give his soul to someone while he sleeps. More or less, the soul will act as a power source for him, for the one he chooses, and will be able to control it, but he will be asleep. As for Kara, she just yells at him for being lazy again, taking an easy way out. And for those of you who don't know, Cross Sans' soul is half of Sans' monster soul and half of Kara's remaining human soul put together. So there is that. As he walks around, he sees Asta struggling that with the same drunkard, but that still goes the same as in canon. He figures that this kid should be good. As he follows them back to the church, he sees and takes a listen from outside the window on what being said. He can tell that Asta is a good kid and that he could probably do a lot of good with his powers. Though he didn't really uh, take in consideration that Asta might have said yes, so while they were asleep, Cross Sands just kind of teleported into where Asta was sleeping while everybody else was conked out as well. Akara saying, "Are you seriously going to stick our soul into this kid?" And just says, "Yeah, he seems like a good kid. I know you aren't really that fond of humans, Kara, despite being one yourself at one point, but just deal with it. I'm sure that this kid will more than exceed your expectations." Kara said, "Fine, I'll see what this kid is like. But if he does anything I don't like, I am going to annoy the hell out of him." And just said, "Well, that's fine. You already annoy the hell out of me. Anyways," with Car just being angry, saying, "If I had a physical body, I would slap you." Then Sans just takes their soul and merges it with Asta's. So it's something odd that they didn't expect happen. Instead of just becoming uh part, just like divided parts of it, Asta's soul fully embraced it, more or less surrounding their soul. The soul that was made out of half of a monster soul and half of a human soul was somewhat unstable. But now with Asta's full soul encasing it, the red and white soul began to merge into one another, making a fluid pattern of white and red, like you took the colors and mixed them all together, but the colors stayed separate and all that. It was odd. Though at this time, Sans just turned to dust, leaving his jacket. And Cora just kind of waited for Asta to get up. Once Asta got up, he woke up finding Cross Sans' jacket next to him. He asked the priest where it came from, but he doesn't know, neither does anybody else. Asta just goes ahead and takes it and puts it on. It's a bit big, but he figures he'll grow into it. As he goes out to go play around and train, while they're secluded in the woods for Asta's training, Kara decides to finally introduce herself, saying, "Hey, kid." Asta looks around and just sees a transparent kid who is very frickin' pale, just floating in air. He pauses for a moment so he could with his brain processing this, then just freaks out, thinking, "Ah, don't harm me! Don't hurt me! Ah!" With Kara just yelling at him to calm down. Asta asked, "What is? Uh, are you a ghost?" Kara explains that pretty much, but sort of not. At the moment, I'm technically part of your newfound combination soul. Asta's like, "What?" He explains a few things on how to sense souls and tells him to focus on his chest. When he does, he sees a yellow heart encasing a white and red swirl heart inside of it. Kara began to explain that his soul is a yellow soul of justice, her soul was a red soul of determination, and but the white is from somebody else's soul. Hers was damaged, as was the owner of the white soul. His name was Sands, but people called him Cross. And his soul is the white one. And he decided that it was enough. He just had enough. He lost all of his family. Everyone he cared about were all gone. Even his home. He didn't even have a house because that was destroyed along with everything else. So he decided to just go to sleep. He's technically still here. It's just that he's asleep, that lazy bones. And Asa's like, you just, you snuck into the church and he put your two souls into me? Or I guess one? I don't get this at all. Give it a couple of days. You're probably still processing the soul. Give it some time and you'll end up gaining traits similar to Cross. And maybe a little bit of me. But no guarantees. But Asa began to say, "Okay, but what exactly does having this mean?" He explains the kind of powers he has now, regarding it as a magic. Asa was excited that he finally had magic, but then Kara interrupted him, saying that it isn't the same as the magic that's common here. Asa didn't know what Kara meant, and Kara began to explain that, unlike the people here, instead of the magic being produced by their bodies, the magic is produced by your soul. So well, it works pretty different from the normal magic that you know about. Asta kind of did get that, sort of, but he honestly didn't care as long as he had magic to work with now. Gara just saw an excited kid who got something really cool and now is completely pumped with it. So she begins to explain all that he can do, the red magic as well as the blades and such. He can summon red energy knives as well as launch red mana slashes. he can summon a sword, the same sword as Cross Sands, also remarking that if turning that sword into pure red energy and stab somebody with it, it won't harm their bodies, but will inject their bodies with energy that has the ability to allow Asta to take control of them. Whether they hold that control or not depends on the multiple of variants. The other person's willpower, your own willpower, or anything that could interfere with taking over control. Asta's a little surprised by that power, but figured it'd be good for dealing with bad guys. She continued speaking about the bones he could use, the normal bones, the blue bones, as well as the Gaster blasters. The first time he tried it, he kinda said that might be a bit too much. Cora said, yeah, it seems to be a bit more powerful now. I'm guessing it's because your soul is mixed in with ours now. As Asta trained, it wasn't until he looked at himself in the reflection of some water nearby that he saw while he was using his new powers, markings appeared on his face with on one side red outlines and the other side yellow, with his eyes with the whites of his eyes black and one eye red and one eye yellow, both with cross marks in them. He's surprised, but then Cora just says, I was wondering when you were gonna recognize that this was going on with you. I'm guessing it's a side effect. Asta just said, really? Though it is pretty cool. This looks awesome. Farah just responds with, you're very easily entertained, aren't you? The training continues, teaching him shortcuts as well, which Asta will finds pretty useful. And as time passes, he finds himself getting smarter and smarter. Also, somewhat aggressive, but only when someone attempts to harm someone he cares about. Dora just says, seems like that aggressive slash protective side of you comes from my traits. But Asta isn't really happy about that. Though, as for his yellow magic, he tries to use it in multiple ways, some of them not really panning out. Then Kara mentioned, look, kid, your soul is yellow. It means that you have a strong sense of right and wrong. So, if you're looking for something to use your magic to give it form, then think of something that you would associate with justice. Like what would you use or happen with bad guys and stuff like that. Asta thinks, and when he remembers some of the stories the priest told him, bad guys would end up being chained and locked up after being defeated. So he tried that, and it was a success. He was able to produce yellow magic chains. On the ends of the chains, he could produce uh, a ball or turn that ball into a rounded mace where the spikes, instead of being spikes, are kind of rounded off. But he could also just make them normal spike maces. He could make blades, hooks, shackles, all kinds of things on the ends of the chains. Figuring it to be pretty useful, he trains with it a good bit, getting pretty good. People begin to notice him using magic, which they're surprised, thinking that he had no magic. He even trained with his telekinesis a good bit. Though he still doesn't typically like to use the Gaster Blasters that much, considering that they're a bit too dangerous. When he told Cora that, she just says, "That sounds a lot like Sans, too." He never really did like the Gaster Blaster, though he used it when he had to. Asta looked at Cora and said, "Sans? Is that supposed to be the other guy whose half of the soul was put together with yours? This is the first time you ever said his name." Cora just said, "Well, yeah, he's been asleep all these years, while I've been out here keeping an eye on you. Though I have to admit, the humans here, they they're a lot better than the ones I knew when I still had a body." Asta asked what she meant by that, but she just replied with, I I honestly don't like to talk about it, though after about a year or two, when Asta asked her about it again, she figured that it wouldn't hurt. She explained that she didn't really like humans due to the ones that she grew up with. They weren't the best people, and they were very cruel in her eyes. She told her that she went to a mountain once and fell down a deep hole, finding herself in a unique place called the Underground, where she met a king and a queen, as well as a prince that adopted them. I'm saying them because that's how the Cora and the Frisk seem to be referenced as, since they're genderless apparently or whatever. But yeah. So she explains that as well as some other things, also regretting what she did with Azrael, forcing him to take her soul, going into the human city only to be attacked, accused of killing Kara, and ending up and causing Azrael's death. Asta says, "You were hurt, and you just wanted to hurt those who hurt you, but that just causes more pain. It just causes more problems. I don't see that as a good solution, Kara." Kara just looks at him and says, "Heh, yeah, well, hindsight's 2020, and I guess I was full on blind with it, huh?" So this they just go on like this until the beginning of the anime. And I do hope you enjoyed this beginning part of the What If. And it might have gone at a bit of a pace you might think might be slow, but this was just more or less the groundwork. Do hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to be alerted to new what ifs, as well as the soon to be upcoming polls for the random uh, for which what ifs will come up next after the next mass upload to complete the set, as well as the on the community tab, the announcement of art contests or lotto drawings where the winner will be allowed to uh, gain be allowed to pick the next three what ifs that will get new parts. Please, I do hope you have enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe and all that. Oh, already said that, but see you later.